Okay, so the final wave of CENTUR-ION support is finally in Master Duel. Took them damn well long enough. There are cards released in the TCG and OCG at the same time or after these CENTUR-ION cards that have already been in Master Duel for like a month or even longer. I don't know why Konami felt like they had to withhold the CENTUR-ION cards for so long for Master Duel, like they would break the game or something, but it is what it is. As you can see, we are on EDO Pro right now. We're not on the Master Duel client because people ask me to, do a video on the, the new CENTUR-ION combos and stuff like that, and I really want to do that. Unfortunately, I have absolutely zero resources on Master Duel right now. I have 0 gems and I have zero URCP. So Konami has officially sucked me.
Hey yo!
Anyways, let's get to the combos. So this first we're gonna cover the bread and butter 1-card combo. This is gonna be the main combo you're gonna be wanting me doing post support, and you can do this with just any one of CENTUR-ION Primera, CENTUR-ION Trudea, or Stand-Up CENTUR-ION. All three of these cards basically do the exact same combo and lead you to the same end board, and this is going to be the most common combo you're going to probably be doing post support. So yeah, you're going to start with Primera or Trudea or Stand Up, whichever one you have. Activate and get your access to your Stand Up, and then you're going to activate Stand Up, and Stand Up is going to access your Trudea by discarding a card. So place Trudea in your spell and trap zone, and then special Trudea. Don't synchro or anything yet. Use Trudea's effect, and place Gargoyle in your back row. And here's where it changes a bit. So you're going to activate Gargoyle's effect, and you're going to special summon Gargoyle. And before, you would keep Gargoyle at level 8, but now, post-support, you're going to reduce Gargoyle's level by 4, so that it summons itself as a level 4 monster. Because the new CENTUR-ION Synchro is Primera Primus, which is a level 8 Synchro. And when Primera Primus is summoned, you get the activates effect, and you get to add an Emblema card from your deck to your hand, and also you get the Gargoyle back for free. So you're going to add your Emblema Oath to hand, and Primera Primus, if this card is single summon, you can add an Emblema card from your deck to your graveyard to your hand, and then you can destroy 2 cards on the field, 1 each, which realistically just translates to you can destroy 1 card your opponent controls, because you can always just target your Stand-Up CENTUR-ION, and your Stand-Up CENTUR-ION, can't be destroyed because you control another CENTUR-ION monster, so you basically just get to pop one of your opponent's cards for free. Obviously this isn't relevant turn 1, but going second, it definitely helps break boards a bit if you can access Primera Primus. But yeah, with the Emblem Oath that you added, you're going to activate and you're going to place CENTUR-ION Autry from your deck to your spell and trap zone. And this is the other new CENTUR-ION support card. It's basically these 2 cards, Primera Primus plus Autry. Autry is the second level 4 tuner in CENTUR-ION, which is big because before when you only had 1 tuner in your entire deck, your plays were kind of limited. But now you can do more. So you're going to activate CENTUR-ION Autry's effect to special summon itself. And if you have both a Emblema card and a CENTUR-ION card in your graveyard, you get to draw a card with Autry for free. And you're always going to have Emblema and a CENTUR-ION card in your graveyard because Emblema Oath you search with the Primera and with the Primera Primus, and you have the Primera that you synchro summoned off. So yeah, you get to draw a card with the Autry, draw into another hand trap, nice, and then you're gonna synchro summon both these 2 into a level 12 synchro. Well, first of all, you might be thinking these are both tuners, right? Well, what the hell? Well, Autry can be used as a non-tuner as well for a synchro summon. Why? Because synchro summoning was too hard. They had to make it easier. So yeah, now you're gonna synchro these 2 into Auxiliad because you use Emblem Mode. If you're locked into CENTUR-ION synchro, so these are only the 2 synchro monsters you can make right now until the Autry is off the field. And then you're going to use Auxiliad's effect, and you're going to add a Wake Up CENTUR-ION from your deck to your hand. Don't add Phalanx, you're going to add a Wake Up. This is very important. So next you're going to use Wake Up effect, and you're going to special summon a level 4 CENTUR-ION token. And next you're going to use Wake Up's Engrave effect, banishing itself, and then you're going to dump your Phalanx from your deck to your graveyard. And now you're going to go into the end phase. So you force end phase right now because if your opponent has a Nibiru, they're going to have to use it right now. And if they do, then it's fine because the Primera Primus can summon itself back. It has another effect where if a CENTUR-ION card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. So if your opponent nibs you at this point, the Primera Primus will come back, and you can also reborn the Centurion Auxilia with the Phalanx still, and then in the end phase you can still get the Auxilia effect, and you still get a setup for a Crimson Dragon on your opponent's turn, plus the Primera Primus, plus the Nib token, which you can do with whatever you want with it. So if they Nib at this point, it doesn't matter. But anyways, we're gonna go into the end phase now, and in the end phase, we're going to activate Centurion Phalanx effect in the end phase to special summon back the Primera Primus, and now you're going to use stand-up Centurion's effect in the end phase to synchro summon, and you're going to synchro summon into Crimson Dragon using Primera Primus plus the token. This is why you can go into end phase, because you still haven't used you shouldn't have used the stand-up Centurion's effective synchro summon yet. So you can do this in the end phase to be safe from Nib, and do all of these plays while not having to fear Nib right now. And the Crimson Dragon is summoned, and then you're gonna Crimson Dragon target the Auxilia, and you're gonna summon your Blazar #1, and then you can use your Centurion Auxilia's effect to place the Autry in the backfield. So this setup is right now. It's one Cosmic Blazar Dragon, so you get the Blazar Dragon on the field turn 1, as opposed to before where you mainly could only get Blazar on the field during your opponent's main phase. And also you have the Autry in the background. And Autry is going to draw you another card on your opponent's turn as well. And you have the setup for a second Crimson Dragon too. So to play it out, let's go to battle phase, and then they have to enter battle phase or any point after your opponent passes priority back to you in main phase 1. You can summon Trudea out, and then Trudea increase its level by 4 to level 8, and then use your Autry effect, special summon itself out. And because you still have a Centurion card and the Emblema Oath in your graveyard, you get to draw another card off this Autry, and you get to trigger a stand-up Centurion. So now you trigger stand-up and then draw a card off Autry. So that's your second card that you drew off Autry. Go into your second Crimson Dragon again, and now Crimson Dragon can target your Auxilia again, and then go into a second Blazar. So this entire setup, this one card's combo in Centurion now gets you to a double Blazar setup plus 2 draws over the course of your turn and your opponent's turn, which is pretty nice compared to what it was before. Before you had a Cosmic Blazar setup plus a Centurion Phalanx as a banish as an interruption, but it was a bit more wonky because you couldn't set up a Blazar until your opponent gets to do their first action in main phase 1, so it was more vulnerable, and you didn't start off your turn with you didn't start off your opponent's turn with a negate, to protect from other random stuff. And also, you also don't get 2 draws off the Autry, which is very important because Centurion is a deck that runs a lot of hand traps. So getting 2 draws off of Autry, which is basically a Heat Soul, is very big, and you get the double on negate as well. And that was the 1 card combo. So yeah, that's what you're going to be trying to do with Centurion post support in Master Duel. So the next 1 card combo we're going to go over is the Emblema Oath combo. And Emblema Oath now is your weakest starter, because with every other starter in your deck, you get to search Emblema Oath for free during the course of your combo. But if you start with Emblema Oath, obviously you don't get to search it for free, because searching another Emblema Oath doesn't do anything. And if you have to use this to start your combo, then you can't use this to grab Autry. And then overall, your combo's noticeably worse if you start with Emblema Oath. It's still technically a 1 card starter, so you should still know what to do if all you have is Oath. But just keep in mind that this is your weakest 1 card combo now. So to start with Oath, you're going to activate Oath, and you're going to set the field spell Stand Up Centurion in your spell and trap zone. And you're going to activate Stand Up, and then Stand Up, discard a random card, and then place Centurion Trudea to your back row. And then activate Trudea, Battle Summon it, and then don't increase your level or anything, just put it back, and then place Primera in your spell and trap zone. Next, you're going to special summon Primera, and then Primera is going to add you a copy of Wake Up Centurion. So this is very important in this specific combo. You have to start with you have to start with Trudea instead of Primera when you start with Emblema for the sequencing, because you need to actually add the Wake Up Centurion off the Primera. And now you're going to activate Wake Up Centurion, and you're going to declare level 8, because you're not going to make Primera Primus in this combo, because there's no point really of making Primera Primus, because Primera Primus searches Emblema Oath, but we already used Emblema Oath this turn, so adding a second Emblema Oath doesn't really do anything. So instead, we're just going to make a level 8 token, and don't use stand up. You're going to synchro into Auxilla, and Auxilla is going to add you Centurion Phalanx from deck, just like the old combo. And now you're going to use your Wake Up Centurion, and you're going to dump Centurion Autry to your graveyard. Because we didn't access Autry with Wake Up, this is the other way to access Autry, which is to just dump it to the grave with Wake Up. And then, you know, we set the Phalanx as an interruption, so on and so forth. And then during the end phase, we can use Auxilla to place the Autry in our spell trap zone. So we still have access to Autry, and obviously during our opponent's turn, we can access our Crimson Dragon this way, so special Trudea, and increase its level by 4, and then use Autry, special summon itself, and now you can trigger stand up and trigger the Autry draw, and draw another card, go into Crimson Dragon, and then Crimson Dragon can target your Centurion Auxilla, and now you're going to make your Blazar. So the one card the one card Emblema Oath combo is like basically the old one card combo in Centurion, where you only go Auxilla and then search a Phalanx to set, and then make Crimson Dragon into Cosmic Blazar on your opponent's turn. Though it's slightly better though, because you get a free draw off Autry in this case, because you get to summon the Autry instead of the Primera, which I know Primera also gets you a card, but Autry draws you a card, whereas Primera only searches you a Centurion card, so there's no chance that the card you get off Primera can be an interruption, whereas Autry, it's kind of likely that you are going to at least draw a hand trap with Autry to potentially be useful, or like a Bystial or something like that. And yeah, it is worse because again, this is the classic combo. We miss out a draw on Autry, and we have to settle with using a Phalanx as our interruption instead of a second Omnigate. But it's still decent, and this is what you do if you open Emblema Oath instead of any other Centurion starter. So the final combo I want to show is basically going to be the highest ceiling end board that this deck can go for, which is going to be a Centurion starter, Trudea, Primera, or stand-up Centurion plus a Bystial Lubellion. Now, this isn't a super crazy combo deck or anything. Centurion is a mid-range deck with a very straightforward combos that are easy to follow along. So this is about as complicated as it gets for a Centurion combo, and it's really not that complicated, but just know that this is one of the ways to make use of a Bystial Lubellion in hand. So you're going to normal summon your starter, in this case it's Trudea, and Trudea is going to place itself to place Primera, and then activate Primera. Primera can special summon itself, and Primera is going to add you your stand-up Centurion. And you're going to activate stand-up, and stand-up is going to pitch a random card to place a Gargoyle in your back row. And here you're going to special summon Gargoyle, and you're going to special summon as a level 4. So here it's a bit awkward from previous Centurion builds, because you're summoning Gargoyle as a level 4, you can't use this Gargoyle as a fodder for Lubellion, because Lubellion needs a level 6 or higher dragon monster, which Gargoyle is no longer, so you can't summon Lubellion early or anything like before. So instead, you're just going to make a Primera Primus right away with Primera plus Gargoyle, and Primera Primus chainlink 1, Gargoyle chainlink 2, add itself back, and Primera Primus is going to add Emblem Oath, and here we have to hold the Gargoyle in our hand until the very end of the combo, same with Lubellion, since we need to do all our other stuff first, otherwise our combo is going to get a little wonky if we try to incorporate Lubellion or Gargoyle too early in our combo. But yeah, we're going to use Emblema Oath to place Centurion Autry, and then Centurion Autry can special summon itself, and then we get a free draw off of it. And Don't use stand up yet. And draw a card, and then use these two to go into Primera Primus plus Autry to go into Auxilla. And Auxilla will add our Wake Up Centurion. And the reason we couldn't use our Gargoyle early before is because we need a we need a Centurion monster in our back row in order for Wake Up to be live. If we summoned the Gargoyle too early, then the Wake Up would be dead, and we wouldn't be able to do the rest of our combo. So this is why we have to hold the Gargoyle in our hand for so long. And we're gonna use Wake Up, summon a level 4 token, and then Wake Up is going to send our Phalanx to the grave, and then Phalanx will special summon Primera Primus, and here Primera Primus plus the token will go into Crimson Dragon. We're not going to end phase in this combo, so you're going to use Crimson Dragon targeting Auxilla, and then special out your Blazar. And finally, we can use Gargoyle to send the Trudea to the graveyard to special summon the Gargoyle. And then we can activate Lubellion to add our Magnamut to hand from deck. And then we're going to special summon Lubellion by sacking Gargoyle. And then Lubellion is going to place our branded Regain. And here we're going to activate Magnamut, banishing our Gargoyle. And then we get its draw off Regain, and we get a search in the end phase off of the Bystial Magnamut. And then finally, we're going to so fun fact, in case you were wondering, yes, you can hard make Typhon you can theoretically hard make Typhon in CENTUR-ION, because you can for a fact make 2 level 12 monsters on your field in 1 turn. Now, you should never do that, so get that intrusive thought out of your mind unless you're absolutely being the most BM you can be possible. But yeah, don't make Typhon. Instead, what you should do is make an IP Masquerena with Lubellion plus Magnamut. And then you can proceed to go to the end phase where your Auxilla is going to place your Autry, and then you're going to search Druisworm from your hand. And now you have a lot to do with this board. This board is a lot of interruptions. You have the Druisworm in hand, you have the Blazar, you have a second Blazar coming out with the Autry, or not a second Blazar, but you have another Synchro coming out with the Autry plus a Monster Reborn off Regain, and then you have the Druisworm itself. So you have like 5 plus 6 interruptions, like not even including your hand traps. So like, for example, let's say your opponent normal summons a monster, and then you're not going to negate it with Blazar, and they have the gall to normal summon a monster in Yu-Gi-Oh! So that's going to trigger your Regain. So Regain is going to special summon Magnamut back, and then you're going to special the Magnamut, and then Magnamut is going to get a search. And then you can, for example, special summon your Druisworm. Druisworm can banish a monster from grave. So let's banish our Lubellion since we no longer need it, and then we can get a draw off of a Regain. And then we can also summon our CENTUR-ION Autry, for example. And then like Autry will summon itself out, get a Regain draw, and then we can trigger our stand up CENTUR-ION, and then we can trigger Autry to get a draw as well. So now we can get a draw and then make a Baron using our Autry plus one of our Bystials. For example, let's use a Druisworm, for example, and if our opponent had a special summon monster, they would also get their monster sent by the Druisworm. You can hard trigger Druisworm either by slinking it off with the IP Masquerena or synchroning it off with the Autry to get a free send on a special summon monster. And then you also have the IP Masquerena still, so you can still use IP Masquerena, for example, with your Bystial Magnamut to go into an SP Little Knight, and then SP Little Knight can also get another banish. So, whoops, but let's say our SP Little Knight banishes our opponent's Trudea, so that's another interruption. So overall, this entire board, we had 4 draws, by the way. We had 4 draws over this course of this combo. We had 2 draws from Autry and then 2 draws off Regained. We had a Surge off Magnawood. We had a Baron de Fleur, a Send from Druisworm, a Banish off SP plus the second SP Banish, plus a Blazar. So this is like, I don't even need to be in the count how many interruptions that is. But yeah, your opponent, if you get to do this combo fully uninterrupted and like everything resolves, like your opponent is definitely not going to be able to play through this. And yeah, obviously you have other options for synchros too. You can also make a Chaos Angel, for example, and then you know that's also hard out, and that also gets another banish. So like you have tons of options with this. And over the course of your 4 draws, you probably drew at least into 1 or 2 hand traps as well as additional interruptions. So yeah, this is the most this deck can basically do, which is like when you have access to Lubellion plus any CENTUR-ION starter. So here is a updated CENTUR-ION deck list with the new support, when in reality it's the main deck is the exact same. I just literally added 1 CENTUR-ION Autry and that's it. That's like the only change you have to make to the main deck. And the extra deck, same thing. I removed 1 card to add a Primera Primus. I removed the Red Supernova Dragon, since now that you make Blazar a lot more on turn 1, you oftentimes don't even really go into another level 12 synchro anymore. And honestly, if you did, I might consider running a second Legacia even over the Red Supernova Dragon, just because Legacia can come up more often in games where like you get Max Seed, for example, or where you can't establish a double level 12 single to go into Blazar. Having access to multiple Legacia to like draw multiple cards over the course of a duel might be helpful in grind games. But yeah, there's not too much to discuss, at least main deck wise, so we can go over this quickly. I will say that I am not sure how much the actual new support improves CENTUR-ION as a whole. Like, obviously the ceiling of the combo is better, you get the additional 2 draws along with establishing Blazar early. The thing is though, is that the main problem this deck has always had is its ability to go second, because this deck engine is just really not that good playing the boards. It basically has to rely on hand traps to stop your opponent enough in order to have a chance to win going second. And this support, especially like the having to run the Autry, does not help it too much going second. In fact, you're adding another sort of brick in your deck that you don't want to draw. That takes up the slot of another hand trap, or just makes your deck size bigger, to where you're actually less likely to draw a hand trap by including the Autry itself. Now, I know Primera Primus is actually a decent card because it does pop 2 cards when you synchro summon it. So that's at least that's at least something, if you get that far. The problem is with CENTUR-ION is that oftentimes when your opponent has a board, that you won't even be able to get to your first synchro, which is a major problem. Which is why I still like the Bystials, because Bystials being able to establish a body on board already means that even if they do something to your normal zone, or at least if they negate it, and you're like in sort of a grind game, we're throwing hand traps at each other, you can at least synchro off with the Bystials into your level 10 synchros like Baron with your Primera, for example, or your Trudea into a Chaos Angel. But yeah, the deck is still, I wouldn't say it really improved an entire tier or anything. It's not like Blue Eyes that got Primite, where that was a huge buff to the deck's viability. Here it's just like I would say a small, noticeable buff, but not one that really like increases his deck's, like going from it like increases his deck by a whole tier or anything. That being said, I mean it's to be expected. Like this support came out way late in Master Duel. Like this, compared to the other stuff we got, like Primite and like Azamina and all that stuff, like this support should have came out much earlier, like it did in paper. But the fact that it came out after a bunch of archetypes and a bunch of supports that directly power creeped in the TCG and OCG, I guess you could sort of expect this deck to not exactly be the most top tier deck, although it is still a viable deck that you can play in this meta as a lower tier option. But yeah, the main deck, so 3 Primera, 3 Trudea, I mean this stuff is all obvious. The 2 Bonfires, since it's semi-limited and we need more starters, especially since our normal summon now does more than it did previously. 3 stand-up Centurion, 3 Emblema Oath still, even though it's searchable, you know, opening it is still good for playing into Disruption, and it is still technically a starter, even though it's a lot weaker now compared to your other starters. It's still better than nothing. And then the 1 Wake Up and the 1 Phalanx, so oh yeah, and the 1 Gargoyle as the level 8 Centurion name you choose to run over MF. You can run MF or Gargoyle as well, since MF is better in bad hands, whereas Gargoyle makes your playable and like average to good hands better, whereas MF makes your bad hands, especially because if you hard draw MF, you know, hard drawing MF is better than hard drawing Gargoyle, so you can just discard the MF for the stand up and you won't feel too bad about it. But most of the time, I think Gargoyle is gonna be a better choice, and then of course the 1 Ashri. And about the other Centurion cards you can run, so some people, I don't recommend running True Awakening. This is still not worth it. If anything, if I were to run another Centurion trap, I would run a 2nd Phalanx over the first True Awakening. Also, the other Emblema spell trap, Emblema Salvation, some people want to run this because it's another search target for when you already open Emblema Oath. Primera Primas can search this instead, but like at the same time, that's really not necessary. Like this is just another card that you don't really want to open. It's not that great. There's a reason why nobody in the TGG and OG ever ran this card when the support came out. So like I wouldn't bother with this. The main options to consider are basically the 2nd Phalanx and the bots. So the 2nd Phalanx is because obviously in your turn 1 combo you dump Phalanx to the grave with Wake Up. So if you run 2 Phalanx, then you have another Phalanx available in deck to where you can actually use it as an actual trap card instead of, you know, just as fodder for your synchros. But it also is like a kind of brick, and as I said and as mentioned earlier, the main problem with this deck is going 2nd, and Phalanx is definitely not a good card going 2nd that you want to draw. So yeah, and then the other one is Bonds. So Bonds is another search target. It makes drawing Gargoyle much less painful because you can easily just replace it like if nothing happened, and like it's another search target for your Auxilla or your Primera if you're already loaded up on your other Centurion cards. The thing about Bonds is that, again, it's another card that's not good going 2nd, and most of the time, the thing with these other Centurion and Emblema Spell and Trap is that most of the time you're going to be searching for the main target, which is either Oath or Wake Up in your combos. So like if you don't hard open either of these, then you're going to be searching these, in which case the additional spell and traps like Phalanx and Bonds are pointless. Like they're just contributing to bricks because you wouldn't have searched them anyways. And then the fact that you're only running them at 1 extra copy each means that most of the time, because you're not going to be searching for these, you're going to be searching for these. It means that you actually don't even see these. You're like planning on hard drawing the 1-up in order for these to actually matter, since you're not actively searching for these most of the time. So I just want to, you know, streamline the deck, cut it down, make it simple, run as many hand traps as possible, because that's gonna be the hand traps are gonna make a difference with the deck's weaknesses. Whereas running more Centurion spell and traps is usually not going to. It does not help with the deck's weaknesses. Let's say that. And we're also running the Bystial engine because the Bystial, especially the regain package, is insane with Centurion. The fact that it provides level 6 bodies for every turn with the Bystials and regain is very powerful in Centurion specifically. I think Centurion is one of the decks that has basically the best synergy with Bystials, because you can use these as synchro material on your opponent's turn. So that means, especially with Druid Swarm is broken since you can make like a light dark Chaos Angel on your opponent's turn, so that it's unaffected and can be run over by battle, and it banishes a card, and you can trigger Druid Swarm to send an additional card as well. So you can also like make Baron and then send a card of Druids, then have them negate up. So yeah, these Bystials are just really good, and obviously you want to start with it's best if you have regain on the field to accumulate draws and then get additional buys in the field. So that's why we're maxing out on Lubellion. And Druid Swarm is like the best one, because for going 2nd, establishing a Druid Swarm on board going into your first turn going 2nd means that even if your like Primera or your normal summon gets negated, you still threaten a level 10 synchro to be able to apply pressure into the boards, which this deck desperately needs. And yeah, that's. 'The engine, and then the rest is just hand traps like Baylor, Imperm, and then Phalanx. And then the other 2 Phalanx cards are Trudea, 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 Imperm, Ash, Maxi, and Ogre. Ogre, one, because Blue Eyes is the most popular deck right now, and Ogre is very good against Blue Eyes, and number two is that Ogre is a light hand trap, which means that in the instance where you don't open a starter, which does happen with this deck only has like 14 like 1-card starters, so like if you don't open one, then you're probably going to have to normal summon a hand trap and then banish it with your Bystial. So like if you don't open one of your CENTUR-ION starters, but you open Lubellion, you can still normal summon a hand trap, go into a Link 1, either like Valor into Artemis or Ogre into Almirage, and then banish the hand trap with Magnamud, get a Magnamud Surge, and then Lubellion summon itself, place Regain, then make SP, then banish like the Lubellion or the Valor or banish either the Lubellion or the Artemis, depending on which one you made, and then you get another draw, so you would have SP Regain plus one draw, and that's usually fine because that means the rest of your hand, you know, which is probably like 3 to 4 hand traps, and you can probably still win from that position because Regain with the SP on the field is still very good, because if your opponent summons a light or dark monster, such as, you know, any Blue Eyes monster, you can SP their monster, and then the Regain shovels it back in the deck permanently so that it doesn't come back, and you get a draw. So you can still win those games where you don't open CENTUR-ION starter as well, as long as you have these Link 1s to help you still make a play with Lubellion. So yeah, that's the main deck, and then the extra deck. So the extra deck, you can run the Supernova Dragon if you wish to. There's a couple flex spots in here. I think these 3 Link monsters are necessary: Almirage, Artemis, and SP. The Link ones, besides just turning your hand traps into starters, it means that if your Primera or Trudea ever get negated, you can also link them off to put the Light and Dark Grave and still trigger your Lubellions too. So it helps you play through hand traps as well. But you need both of these because Primera can only go into Artemis and Trudea can only go into Almirage. So you gotta run both because you don't know which one you're gonna start with. And then the SP is obvious, and then the SP is obvious. The IP is for the plays with like when you have like Lubellion and like you have extra bodies, you can go into IP. This doesn't come up that often. This is one of the flex spots you can cut for a Supernova if you really want to. Typhon I wouldn't cut. This is the hand trap deck, so and this deck has very limited pushes going second. So this being, even though it's like kind of a mid because it's Typhon, it's still something that this deck can do for free. So helps there. 1 Auxilla, Legacia, double Cosmic Blazar, Crimson Dragon, Chaos Angel, Baron, and 1 Primera Premise. At least these are absolutely necessary. You have to run all of these. And then the additional flex spots is a Dissipator and a Chaos Archfiend. So Dissipator is not necessary. This is by far the level 10 Tinker you go into least. So this is another slot you can use for something like a Red Supernova, for example, or a second Primera Primus. You can also run 2 Primera Primus, you know, in the case for like a Caster Unicorn or something. You don't often go into 2 Primera Primus in a single game, but I mean the option still exists because, as mentioned, this is a board breaker. It does plop cards, so if you go into this turn 1, you can also go into it in the follow-up to clear out the rest of the field. I still like Chaos Archfiend just because it's again, it's a very strong card going second. It just goes to 4,500 and manages everything in the choice of battle and attacks everything and attacks all your monsters once. Like, it's something that this deck needs. Like, if your opponent just puts up a wide board or just puts up a bunch of bodies, it's kind of hard for this deck to even clear like a full board of, even if they have no interruptions. Like, you can't clear a full board of bodies very easily. So Chaos Archfiend is a way to cleanly do that. And because you run Wake Up now, you can easily trigger the banish effect, where if you control if a card is banished this turn, this card gains 2,000. Like, there's so many ways you can banish a card with this deck between the Bystials and Wake Up now that you should almost always be able to get the 4,500 attack of Chaos Archfiend. And then a 4,500 attack Chaos Archfiend that has the Terahertz or the Borderland effect to attack every monster your opponent controls is a legitimately good going second tool. And yeah, as I mentioned, you could also run a second Legacia or the Red Supernova. You have a couple flex spots, but yeah, this is in general what the CENTUR-ION deck looks like now. And as mentioned, you know, probably not tier 1, but definitely tier 2, tier 3-ish deck. And It can compete in this meta. It can compete with Blue Eyes. I wouldn't say it's better than Blue Eyes. I think maybe Blue Eyes is probably better than this deck now, but it's not. It's not like it's not a bad deck by any means, and it's definitely one deck to play.